what we do, as chefs, I think a lot of people don't understand or give credit to the complexity of it. There's not an art. There's not an art in existence that encompasses as many senses as ours does. It's tactile, it's smell, taste, visually, how beautiful a plate can be. It's so multidimensional. And there's not an art that's more transient, right? I mean, if you play violin, you can record that and play it back. If I'm a sculptor, that exists for perpetuity. I can paint. It exists until it's destroyed. When you make a plate, it exists for minutes, and then it's gone forever. The creative process is something I deeply, deeply enjoy. I think that I've always been creative. From a very blue-collar family, I spent a lot of time alone, and I just kind of in my own head, and I would create, and that continues to today. As we sit down to talk about a plate, what it's going to be, to draw the plate and sketch the plate out and figure out what the aesthetic is and how all the flavors come together. So I spent a lot of time with my great-grandmother in the kitchen. She was 70 when I was born, but she was extremely active. She had a garden behind her house. We would cook lunch for the family every Saturday. And then her daughter, my grandmother down the street, would cook lunch every Sunday. And so that's what I grew up with, was every Saturday and every Sunday, the family getting together for lunch. I was the first person in my family to go to college. There were very high hopes that, I'd become a doctor or something like that. I was studying psychology and religion, and then just kind of cooking my way through to pay the bills. Within psychology, I studied behavior modification, which, pays dividends to this day, and religion as well, because you can become an atheist and find God and become an atheist again in one dinner service, so. The creativity and the camaraderie of the kitchen that drew me into it. And that's what I still enjoy. I just found a home in the kitchen and didn't look back. Joined the American Culinary Federation, became the president of my student chapter of the ACF while I was in college. And it was there that I learned about competitions. And so I loaded up my car and drove to DC and competed in my first competition. Slept in my car and competed. And I waited for the person who finished first place. And that was John Bell. And it could have been anybody, anywhere, but John won first place. Said, "Hey, I'm coming to work for you." And I did.
So I've known Scott Craig for about 23 years now. We met at Baltimore Country Club. I was 17 years old, in college, technically, and he was already there as a line cook. Then I was in way over my head. I mean, really, really far. If it wasn't for him, I think that, I probably would have flunked out. But
by that point, I was competing pretty frequently. And so I met Chef Joachim Buchner, who's a master chef. He judged me at a competition, and I scored well. And so I went to him. That was a great bet. I was invited to come back to Chevy Chase Club as executive chef after Chef Buchner had moved on. Chevy Chase is one of the top 10 clubs in America, a very, very large club. And that was a very exciting time. And so I had the pleasure of then going back to Myers Park as director of culinary operations.
March or April of 18, he came back to Myers Park. And that was really, I think, when our relationship became a lot closer and kind of developed into what it is today.
I moved to Charlotte to work at Myers Park Country Club, and my confidence in myself as a chef was a little bit lost. And Chef Scott has a way of building your confidence. He has a way of allowing you to collaborate, because that's not something I was always used to.
I've heard of Scott, kind of kept my eye on him. When you're in this market, the Southeast, you kind of keep an eye, you're networking. but had never had the opportunity to meet Scott. The chef that I had with me in Atlanta was good friends with Scott. He says, I got the perfect guy, and I think he's looking to maybe scale back and work seasonal. So that's how that came to fruition.
COVID was kind of a wake-up call to everything that we had kind of given up for decades. You know, nights, weekends, holidays, relationships. I remember sitting with Leah on the porch during COVID. I said, man, yeah, there's so many people out here walking around. She said, no, they do that every day. You're just not here. Priorities shifted. And, you know, I'd heard about Colasasia Club. I'd heard about Chris Connor, the GM. And about the time that I decided to start looking around, everything fell into place.
I remember walking into his office, I'm like, holy crap, look at all these medals. Like, there's just medals everywhere. There's frames everywhere and there's medals everywhere. It's like, what does this guy do? Like, is he in the military or what? You know, what is this? No, it's cooking. You know, he's a hardcore food competitor.
You know, when I look at those medals, each one of them has a story. You know, I remember driving all night to West Palm Beach, or, you know, the first time I met George Castaneda in Tennessee, and it changed the way that I did cold food. The bronze medal that I got, and just got absolutely, you know, beaten by the judges, and had to rethink what my take on this was. Whether it was bronze or gold is just, was a lesson.
International gold medalist. He's a culinary team member. He's he was a judging competitions, world master chef. You know, he's got all kinds of credentials and certifications, and, you know, he's a pillar in the industry. You know, he's done a lot.
Competition gave me a way to measure my skills against my peers, kind of understand where I was professionally. It gave me an opportunity to network with fellow chefs. It gave me an opportunity to get feedback from chefs that I admired and respected. But it was such an integral part of my growth. I think I competed 22 times before becoming a judge and joining Team USA.
He modeled that, again, that dedication for, you know, anything you do, do it right. If you're gonna do it right.
When I was competing in Germany, there's Leah with a chef coat, you know, handing me things. And the higher up you go, the harder it is sometimes to get real honest feedback. And she's always provided that for me, and she does it all. And so, you know, I couldn't have gotten anything done without her. When I did begin cooking professionally, to be frank, I wasn't working for Baltimore Country Club. I was working for John Bell. And I didn't know at that point that I would end up in country clubs. And I do think there was a stigma at that point about club chefs. People in our profession thought that club chefs just made fried chicken or meatloaves or hamburgers or something like that. After working for several years at Baltimore Country Club, that couldn't have possibly been further from the truth. We were cooking everything from scratch. Soup, stock, sauces, everything from scratch. We were sourcing locally. We were pushing really, really hard with chef's tables and wine dinners to kind of be at the forefront of cuisine. And then we were constantly re-examining those standard recipes like meatloaf and fried chicken to make sure that they were the best that they could be.
The wine dinners that we're doing, the chef's tables that I got to be a part of with him, things that I worked hard to do and for preparation and to execute alongside him. You know, we see something start as raw ingredients and then finish as a beautiful entree or beautiful plate. Just being able to be a part of that, I think is, it's very rewarding.
I remember having a party at my house when I was probably 25, 26, and we were sitting on the back porch and we were having drinks. And he said, man, I love being a club chef. And I said, why? You know, what do you love about it? He said, you only have to have a mediocre crab cake. You only have to have a mediocre meatloaf. and they're fine with it. And that concept was so alien to me that I kicked them out. Like, that's so antithetical to what I knew and the chefs that I came up with. They do exist, and we want no part of it.
He's his own chef. Every chef he's worked for has taught him, given that we've worked for the same chefs a lot. He knew what he wanted to learn from them walking into the club or the kitchen that he was going into. He's branched out across the ACF. He's well known inside of Club and Resort Chef. He knows people everywhere. And I think everybody sort of looks to him for either what's coming, what's next, or did you see that plate that he posted on Instagram? Whatever it is, like, it's always just people kind of know his name and are drawn to him. And I think that's kind of a big part of what makes him so special.
One thing I like to hire is someone that other people want to be around. And it's not so prevalent in back of house, but I thought it could be. I wanted someone that could go out front, was affable, was likable, that could tell a story. Finding someone like Scott who was able to do that and actually liked being out front and enjoyed it. And he's so good at that. And I think that's something that you need now in today's culinary operation. You need the ability to come out front and be in front of the members. They expect it.
It's not cooking for strangers or even regulars at a restaurant. It's cooking for the same people every single day and having these conversations that go for years. It's watching their kids grow up. It's watching the members, through their life cycles, and it's extraordinary. I mean, for someone who loves hospitality and who loves cooking, I can't imagine a better fit than private clubs. I think the people most influential to me as a chef, Chef Rudy Speckham, such a wonderful human being and a master of his craft. And he had such kind of a familial kitchen. Everyone was happy. It was light. It was extremely creative. That gave me a vision for what I wanted our kitchens to be when I matured as a chef. Another chef whom I didn't work for that was massively influential was Peter Timmons. Chef Timmons was so different from the rest of the industry. He was kind of a scientist on a sea of pirates. So he just kind of showed us there was a different way.
I've obviously come from a past where I get screamed at, I get yelled at, things thrown at me. So getting to work with Chef Scott and not seeing that side and, me screwing up and him still remaining calm and very level-headed, maybe even when he's the angriest I've probably ever made him, was an eye-opener for me. He taught me there needs to be professionalism in the kitchen. And so I've always tried to mirror that and carry that throughout my career.
There's been so many instances where I feel like his mentorship has impacted me. Moving to Coolest Asia Club, to Highlands. This is something that I would have never thought of doing. His mentorship has shaped a lot of perspectives and a lot of decisions that I've made, and not just professionally, but personally as well.
John Bell was a great role model, a great mentor. He was, extremely cutting edge and a master of his craft, and always pushing us, always pushing the boundaries. He wanted to be wherever great food was. I look back at all those times that I spent with John Bell, Chef Bell, outside of the kitchen, and how formative those things were. Not as a chef, but just as a young person trying to kind of navigate the world. I've been very, very, very fortunate to be in their orbit. And it made all the difference. I don't think necessarily that, having a life and excelling at your craft should be mutually exclusive. I think that you can probably do both. I think that the generation that's coming through expect that. And I think that if we, as industry leaders, don't accept that, not only accept it, but embrace it, then we are being detrimental to our craft. We are excluding them from joining our industry and, becoming the next generation of talent. And I wanted to make sure that, my kids, they knew exactly what I did and who I was working with. And so, that was always part of bringing everyone into our house and making them part of our family experience and bringing the family into the professional workplace, making them part of the professional experience.
I've come from work cultures where you don't talk about personal stuff. Leave that at the door. Don't bring that in here. I don't need to hear that. We're talking about food here. And so I've always appreciated that he's always been open about that, and he's always been willing to share that.
I like bringing my kids in. They're getting older now, but I love bringing my daughter in. She was 10 years old, because it made everyone very self-conscious and self-aware. This has to be a kitchen that's suitable for a 9-year-old girl. And so it can't be a locker room. It can't be hyper-masculine. That's very, very, very important.
He's not only been a model as a chef for me, but he's also been a model as a father for me, because I need to see that, Even if I've always wanted to be a great father, being in this career can sometimes make you feel like you're not going to be a good father because you're not going to be around.
I've been told that I always try to build a family wherever I go. We bring these people in close. We care about them very deeply. I believe that's positive, seeing the best in people. Looking at them and seeing what they're capable of and trying to reflect that back to them, being a mirror and letting them see what you see in them.
This is so different from what we've done at Myers Park. It was a big leap of faith. It was at Myers Park on and off for 14 years, almost 15 years. And so to do that in a completely different operation and away from his family and loved ones, we're working with seasonal staff and HDBs and J1s.
They're coming from all of these different countries, all of these different backgrounds. Does this person know how to butcher a steak? Butcher a filet or a New York strip or ribeye? No, but they can learn. They can flourish as people. They can flourish as professionals. They can practice their craft and enjoy a livelihood that they couldn't back home. The best parts of my day are when I hear people laughing in the kitchen. That to me says that we're doing everything right.
It's the single most important reason why we have clubs, is for the opportunity for folks to gather and enjoy great, outstanding culinary experiences. I just love working with him and his vision. I think he has an outstanding vision for what culinary can be.
This is the first time in my career that I haven't asked myself the same question. I feel comfortable in my own skin. I'm very happy with the team that we have, happy with what we're creating, happy with a work-life balance that I've never experienced before. No, I think this is the culmination of decades. It's just kind of led to this.
He's insanely caring. Like, he cares for his team more than just about any chef I've ever met. Something that I aspire to be like.
Knowing that I can reach out to him and, ask him whatever it is or tell him whatever it is I'm going through. I think whether it's family related or whether it's, work related, I know I can do that.
It's the Peter Timmons quote that, you want to leave something better than you found it. And that carries so much weight, I think about it every day. I know he does. He wants to be a positive impact for the craft and for the industry, and to know that he's leaving something behind for the people that, like me, you know, that I look up to him and I respect him. And it's been, you know, I've had the honor to work alongside him for a few years at this point, so.
You know, what I've always loved about kitchens is it's a meritocracy. You know, if you're good at what you do, you rise. The kitchen doesn't care if you're male, female, who you worship, who you love, what color you are, anything like that. It's all about what can you do with your hands. Can you take something from your imagination and bring it into reality? And can you do that 180 times in 90 minutes? I owe everything to the craft. It's done so much for me. And I just want to make sure that the group that's coming through now not only have all of the advantages that I had, but I hope they understand that there's a better way, and I hope that they expect more than I expected. I hope that they know that they deserve more than we thought we deserved.